Chad Dukes here with thefukerton.com, the interweb's leading website, and WJFK 106.7, heard locally here in Washington, D.C. On with one of my favorite fighters right now. He currently has a title fight coming up against an undefeated opponent at WEC. You can watch the fight for free January 25th against Donald Trump. We're talking to Jaime Varner right now. Jaime, what's going on, champ?
Not much, man. Just hanging out, just getting ready for this big fight, man.
Yeah, I appreciate your time because I know that you're training your ass off. I actually got a chance to watch some WEC special on what you do, and I've got experience with the Arizona area. We were out there working, doing a talk show for over a year, and I know what the weather's like. I saw you flipping a truck tire over in a parking lot when it was like 500 degrees out. I got to ask you, the Arizona area, and I want to get to this, having a lot of exposure and a lot of success in mixed martial arts right now. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's something to do with the climate? Do you think you guys just have a very good school? Or why do you think the Arizona area right now is producing a lot of great fighters?
Well, I think honestly we have Arizona Combat Sports, dude. Every fighter that's come out of Arizona that's won fights in the UFC has come out of Arizona Combat Sports.
Yeah.
Starting with Joe Riggs, Drew Fickett, then me, then you got the CB Dalloway and Ryan Bader now. So I'd say it has to do with the school, but we also have ASU. We also have owe some credit to them, Arizona State University, their wrestling team. We're kind of like a direct feeder. Any of their wrestlers that want to fight, they come right to us, and we turn wrestlers into fighters, and it's a beautiful thing. And unfortunately for me, I didn't have that same opportunity to go to Arizona State. I actually went to Lock Haven University, but it was also really fortunate for me, and on the other hand, because they had a boxing team and a wrestling team, so I was able to do two sports in college. So the next logical step for me was to go into mixed martial arts.
Yeah, Jaime, let me ask you about that. You're seeing a lot of kids now, and I've been reading stories, I'm sure you have as well, saying there's actually mixed martial arts classes and clubs now being provided at the high school level. And now you're seeing guys like you mentioned, CB Dalloway and Bader. Those are two guys that were wrestlers like yourself. And when you're an amateur wrestler, well, once you get out of college, I mean, maybe you can go to the Olympics, you can do some competitions, but that's pretty much it. How big has the development of mixed martial arts been for the sport of wrestling in high school? Because now these guys, such as yourselves, you got a trade that you can apply yourself now and earn a wage.
Yeah, it's like, a lot of us, we either don't have the athletic ability or the size to go on to, professional football or basketball, baseball. So combat sports is really our only outlet, especially for us wrestlers and us little guys. But I'd say for the bigger guys, I mean, yeah, you have to be such an elite caliber of wrestler to go to the world level and the Olympic level, and it's probably like 0.5% of all wrestlers make it to that level. So it's just such a small elite community. So mixed martial arts is a great outlet for us to keep competing, and a lot of us just still have that competitive fire burning. So it's a great outlet, and it's great for us. And I think it's great for the sport to see the caliber of athletes that we have coming into it now, like the CB Dallways, the Ryan Baders, these are guys that probably could have played football in college. I mean, they're just great athletes. They're great wrestlers, all-American wrestlers. They also could have played football in college, but they decided to go the wrestling route, the harder route, and then they're able to pick up the stand-up and stuff just because they're such great athletes. So it's really cool to see how the sport has evolved over the years.
Jaime, I got to ask you, I saw the emotion when you won your title, and congratulations on that. You've already successfully defended it. And I know I saw an interview where you said that you keep the title in your closet. The one thing I wanted to ask you is, as a champion, how do you stay motivated? We saw a guy in Forrest Griffin who I thought is a very good fighter. He's so big and athletic, but he was one and done. He had one fight, and then he had to give up his belt to another fighter. And to me, that probably is worst-case scenario. When you're at the pinnacle of your sport in the WEC, which you are right now, how do you manage to stay hungry and stay motivated? Because right now, I mean, what can your goal possibly be? You're already the champ.
Well, you know what? There's always people coming after me, dude, and that's what keeps me motivated. Donald Cerrone is no slouch. The guy's undefeated.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting the guys. I'm not fighting the big name guys. I'm fighting the best guys that you haven't heard of, which makes it even scarier,
Yeah.
which puts even more pressure on me to win, dude. Because if I go lose to a guy that you've never heard of, then it takes everything I've ever worked so hard for. It rips it all away. And then, even beating these guys, if I grind out a 5-round decision and barely win, then that can looks down on me. So because these guys don't have big names. Do I think of Razor Rod McCullough, Marcus Hicks, and Donald Cerrone, and even Richard Crunkleton could go into the UFC and make waves? Oh yeah, for sure. For sure, they could go in there and make a direct impact in the UFC lightweight division.
Right.
But the UFC's got such a promotion, such a name, and they got so much marketing behind it that those fighters, those lightweights, get a lot more exposure than the lightweights in the WEC. So people always ask me, why'd you go down to the WEC? I didn't go down. It wasn't a demotion. I won. I'm getting paid twice as much as I was in the UFC. I fought Hermes Franca for $3,000 to show, $3,000 to win. Hermes Franca, he was ranked 9th in the world when I fought him.
Yeah.
21 years old.
Well,
all right. I switched over to Zuffa. When Zuffa bought out Pride, WEC, and WFA, they came at me with an opportunity. They gave me a signing bonus, and they're like, okay, you can make 9-9 for my first fight in the WEC. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I can go fight guys like Hermes Franca, Din Thomas, and even Jason Gilliams or Spencer Fisher for peanuts, or I can go over to WEC and fight guys like Sharon Liggett, Razor Rod McCullough, and Marcus Hicks and make more money, which is still top-level competition, but I'm making more money. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I like what I'm doing. I like the WEC a lot.
I wanted to ask you about that, and I'm glad you brought that up. We're talking with Jaime Varner, of course, is the champ. He defends his belt against undefeated Donald Cerrone at WEC January 25th. Also, Uriah Faber and Jens Pulver on that card. It's a great card. I wanted to ask you about the WEC because I get all the pay-per-views. I watched the show on Saturday night that Elite XC did. I watch all this stuff. And the WEC, as far as I'm concerned, puts out the most exciting fight product there is. The lighter weight fighters, they're faster, they're more athletic. The fights, you get knockouts, you get submissions, you get great technique on the ground and standing up. I think that Versus is great for putting these fights on, and you get to watch them for free, which blows my mind. And you got the Wreckage show, and there is some stuff. But the promotion, in my opinion, is sorely lacking. You got this great product that not enough mainstream sports fans know about. I'm just curious, Jimmy, what is your interpretation of the way that Versus and the WEC and Zuffa promotes your product? Because to me, that seems to be lacking.
Well, you know what? If you remember the early stage of the UFC, they would have 3-4 shows a year.
Yeah.
They had to slowly build that brand. And the WC, it's still in its infantile stages, man. It's got to grow. They're talking about making some super fights and having some pay-per-view because that's where the money is. The promotion doesn't really make money off network television, off being on the Versus channel. The Versus channel does do the WEC right, gives us a lot of exposure, and it's owned by Comcast, so it goes into 80 million homes. But the real money is made with pay-per-views and pay-per-view sales. So what they got to do is they just got to build the brand up, and they're using the Versus as a platform, the Versus channel as a platform to build that brand. So, I mean, it's only a matter of time, and I'm 24 years old. So, I mean, I got a long time in this sport. I have a long career ahead of me. If worse comes to worse, if the WEC isn't giving me what I need or what I feel I deserve, I could always go back to the UFC, and if something happens where the WEC tanks, UFC Joe Silva said, "Dude, you're right back in the UFC." So I mean, it's not a big deal. I personally like the WEC. I think it's the most prestigious show just because it's known for having amazing fights and having such great talent like Uriah Faber, Miguel Torres, Carlos Condit. These are all guys that are in the top 10. Miguel Torres was the number one bantamweight in the world.
Yeah.
Uriah Faber for a long time was the number one featherweight in the world. Carlos Condit is in top 10 in the welterweight division. So you have these great fighters. It's a great platform for me, and I want to grow with the WEC. I hope to headline one of those pay-per-view cards someday. So I'm really happy with the direction the WEC is going. It's not trying to take over the world like Elite XC did. Throw all this money out, go and get all these great fighters, but then go out of business in a year.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same things that happened to Affliction. I think the WEC is doing it right. They're paying their fighters and they're treating us well.